Well, hey, how you doing today? Thanks for joining me at my podcast central here, Opening Minds podcast. I wanted to talk about, what we're learning about how a lot of these different scientific ideas connect. I've been doing a lot of research recently into cold fusion, as it was called, low energy nuclear reaction, and a lot of exotic physics processes that for a long time, the scientific community didn't really seem to believe in. And worse than that, they were just extremely negative towards it. And when we're putting all the pieces together, it really seems that people have been researching this area of nuclear transmutation and these nuclear processes that produce excess heat. And because it didn't work in any, obvious way, the scientific community is very skeptical about it. But when we look at it, people have been researching it ever since Nikola Tesla, probably before that, and coming up with roughly the same sort of phenomena and same results in their scientific experiments, all the way through people like Winston Bostick, John Hutchinson, Kenneth Shoulders, and many researchers in Russia, former Soviet Union, Japan, China. And the results all seem to bear out the same idea, is that there's a process by which you can have nuclear transmutation and fusion in a way that is dependent on what's called primordial neutrinos, or this kind of background cosmic radiation, dark matter. And it's really astounding to find out that dark matter has such an important role to play in so many processes here on Earth. There's a great book by Alexander Parkhomov that was translated by Bob Greenyer and started as a Kickstarter project, Space, Earth, Human. And he documents, Parkhomov, who's a nuclear physicist in the former Soviet Union, now Russia, documents how there are variations in germination of seeds and beta decay in the atom, and other processes where it's affected by where the Earth is in relationship to the Sun. Now, there isn't anything in physics that should, in the past say why that's happening. But we know that the Sun has massive gravity, and it seems to lens and focus these neutrinos coming from the background, cosmic background radiation from 13 billion years ago plus, and that these neutrinos interact at an atomic level with matter here on Earth. They have a so-called de Broglie wavelength that of a couple of nanometers, which allows them to interact with physical matter, not just other particles. And these primordial neutrinos are called slow neutrinos, ultra low energy neutrinos. They're not like the fast ones. Until recently, you're probably like me, you thought there's like one type of neutrino, right? You've heard about it, you read about it. It comes from stars, and it's really fast, and it's so small it doesn't hit into anything, so it doesn't really matter. This slow neutrino is the opposite. It's much slower, as it implies. It has energy that does interact with matter, and it is sort of what various scientists have described as ether in the past, which apparently the Michelson and Morley experiments disproved 100 years ago. But apparently it's really here, and it's a very good candidate for what we call dark matter, this mysterious energetic force that has a lot of gravity, and explains why the galaxies rotate at the speeds that they do. Discovered by the astrophysicist Fritz Zwicky a number of decades ago, and then someone here in the U.S., Vera Rubin. And it's always been a mystery what would cause this dark matter to exist. Well, it's a very good candidate is the so-called relic or primordial neutrinos. Now, the interesting thing about these neutrinos, they come from outer space, literally, and are coming through us all the time. About 10 million at any moment are in your body passing through. But they're also generated by biological organisms. They come out of a nuclear process, and it's related to cold fusion and LENR. And even human beings can emit these particles if they do it in a very coherent way. We call it psychokinesis. So this is a very interesting development, and it connects a lot of so-called paranormal phenomena and shows that there's a scientific basis for a lot of these phenomena that we've been really curious about for a long time. Remote viewing, ghosts and poltergeists, and ability of people to levitate objects, bend spoons like Uri Geller and many others can do, PK, and even micro PK, where people influence machines at kind of a microelectronic level. And if you kind of put in this primordial neutrino idea into it, and the experiments show that it's there. This has been talked about by the CERN working group, the particle accelerator, the CERN folks. It sort of explains a lot, and that's really what you're doing in any scientific process. You're kind of looking for the simplest explanation for the most phenomena. And for me, the dark matter relic neutrinos really explain a lot of it. And then when you factor in that we can emit the same neutrinos at the same wavelength, they're not relic from the Big Bang, but they're being produced now by us, then we can see there's a way that we're all interacting, the way the cosmos interacts, nature, that we haven't considered before. So I think that's very interesting, and I thought this is something that might interest you. So that's what I'm thinking about at the moment. And of course, let me know your comments, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Take care for now, and bye.